Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. As America and most of the Western world sink deeper and deeper into the quicksand of financial insolvency, one major cause of that meltdown, in fact perhaps the major cause of the financial disaster, has gone largely unreported. Sure, there is corporate greed, but as long as there have been corporations, there's been corporate greed. And yes, the Clinton White House and his social engineering band of Democratic cronies in Congress ordered banks to make housing loans to people who really didn't have much of a chance to repay them. And yes, unreasonable real estate speculation sent property values to stupidly high and unsustainable levels. But whatever gets talked about because it would be practically the most politically incorrect thing that someone could ever say is this: the financial chaos in the West is owing largely to the single issue of abortion. In the U.S. alone, close to 60 million citizens, or in economic terms, 60 million consumers, are not alive today. They are not alive buying, selling, earning income, paying taxes, etc. 60 million with no end in sight. If it were not for immigration, much of it illegal, America's population would be declining. No wonder the Democrats and their socialist-minded buddies want to hand out citizenship papers to illegal immigrants. They need to compensate for the effects of their disastrous abortion policies. A 5-year-old could understand this. All things being equal, the less people you have, the lower your total gross domestic product will be. Right now, America is missing nearly $40 trillion worth of gross domestic product since Roe v. Wade in 1973. $40 trillion. The last 2 generations of Americans are missing 1/3 of their generational brothers and sisters. 1/3. The population equivalent of 19 states has been murdered. 19 states, and zeroing in on 20. 60 million people not buying homes, cars, educating their children, buying cell phones, texting each other, buying video games, and on and on. And now lawmakers think that after almost 40 years of destroying 1/3 of future generations, that they can be clever enough to pull some rabbit out of the hat and solve the economic woes. The biggest abortion cheerleader of them all, Obama, thinks the situation is to just tell his pals at the Federal Reserve, which by the way is nothing more than a private banking cartel. It has nothing to do with the federal government, despite its deceptive name. He thinks he can just say, "Hey guys, run off a few more trillion of those dollar bills." Think about the stupidity of all of this for just a moment. Big picture time. Lawmakers, in order to get elected, pander to an increasingly sexualized electorate that wants to have sex with no consequences, with no responsibility. So, lawmakers pass laws and support court decisions which uphold this kind of immoral behavior. As the behavior increases, the nation becomes more and more numb to any real sense of personal morality. How can anyone seriously claim to have a conscience when they aren't engaged in trying to stop child killing? Voters increasingly vote for candidates who promise them the good life with no personal responsibility or sacrifice required. So a vicious cycle sets in where all anyone cares about is their own self-interest, and in the area of sex, that means killing 1/3 of all children conceived. Every year that goes by, the native population has fewer and fewer people around. Oh sure, there's growth in the numbers for a while because it takes a while for all these numbers and statistics to work their way through a culture. Like turning a battleship around, it takes a while, but once the momentum gets going, you better not be in the way. So after decades of killing off future workers and future consumers and future students, national and state leaders stand around helpless to understand how to fix the problem of shrinking budgets owing to less revenue from taxes collected on fewer workers and having to pay out more for entitlement programs for a population growing older because there are fewer young people around, because so many of them have been murdered by the state-sanctioned policy of abortion, child murder as it's more truthfully known. In the hopes that lawmakers wake up to this truth, that bad morality makes bad policy, we told you a couple of weeks ago about a very generous viewer who sent us $2,000 and said, "Send a copy of our program, The Cost of Abortion, to every member of the United States Senate." We did that, and we thank him again. A short while later, another viewer sent us thousands of dollars to make over 300 copies of the DVD and mail them out to every member of the Canadian Parliament. And just this week, another check came rolling in asking us to send every member of the U.S. House of Representatives, all 435 of them, a DVD copy as well. The Canadian Parliament, as well as the U.S. congressional copies, are all being made as we speak and will be going out over the coming days. By the way, that's a lot of DVD copies of the show The Cost of Abortion. All told, getting upwards of 1,000, and we're happy to do it. All of the anonymous donors asked us to ask you to get in touch with your respective lawmaker, be it in Canada or the United States, and tell them to watch this DVD. You can click right over here to find out how to reach them, either by letter or email. And in case you haven't seen it, we've also posted a link over here to help you get in touch with them. What's the takeaway? The one salient point: bad morality makes bad economic policy. Just think of all the brain power, the ingenuity, the contribution to the arts, engineering, science, law, finances, all of that, plus the economic ruin which follows in the wake, all lost so people can have sex without consequences. There's no such thing as sex without consequences. Next time you hear about someone you know being laid off or downsized because profits are shrinking and revenue is drying up, ask yourself, why? Where are all the customers? And keep asking yourself that question as you casually drive by the local abortuary. God bless you. I'm Michael Voris.